going to be drawing and painting this beautiful deer that you can see up on the left hand side of my screen. I've just got to get my pencil and everything organized, and we are going to start. So this reference I got off Unsplash. Hear my little dog, I can't see her though. Okay, so this reference I got off Unsplash, and it's of this beautiful elk. So what I'm going to do is start by drawing the head. So I'll draw his ear. I've drawn a little bit of his neck just to give myself a base to work from. So I've started with his ear. I'm going to draw down, just following the shape that I can see. I can always adjust it. Following the shape that I can see of his head, and I'll just draw the rough outline. Just a very rough outline. And they're beautiful animals. They're one of my favourite animals ever. So I love drawing them and painting them. So we've got his head and his neck. So his head is 1 time the size of his neck. So his head and his neck is 1 time the length. And it's very thick though, so I can go thicker just down underneath, because you can see he's got all that sort of wool on his neckline. Now his neck, because he's sort of face, his bottom's towards us, so it will be shortened. So he's 1.5 times his neck is towards us, his bottom. So 1.5, like that. There we go. So it's 1.5, and it actually comes up a bit, so I can change the angle of that a fraction, because he's sort of coming towards us. So now, having a quick look. Now his legs, his head and his legs are the same length. He's got quite stocky little legs. So I'll just draw his little chest in. I'll draw his chest, and then his legs are the length of his head. So they're very stocky little legs, like that. Okie doke. So now I am going to draw this leg in, and I'm multi-streaming today. This is my first proper multi-stream to YouTube and Twitch. So yes, forgive me if it's a bit unusual today. So I'm not sure if you guys can see both conversations, if they pop up in chat, but we'll find out. So you hear my little dog in the background. She desperately wants to come up here, but all she does is bark at me. She's a gorgeous little creature, but yes, she barks the whole time. But you can hear her in the background. So I'm just going to start by drawing the body. I've got to get this back leg. They're the same length, but they're bent. So they're actually fractionally longer, I would say. Fractionally longer. Okay. I've just got to turn the volume off on this. Just bear with me. I'm still learning how to do this multi-streamy thing. Just got to wait for it to pop up on my screen. Okay. So I'm adjusting things as I go. I've got to have a look a little bit to figure this all out. So that leg is the same length. I'll draw his antlers last. They're going to be so much fun. I love drawing their antlers. And I'm going to do the background as well, because I've been trying to practice my backgrounds. So come down and around here. See his mouth there. It's almost got a smile, which is very cute. And you can see the other front leg behind there. That other back leg disappears off. Whoops, hang on. How do I turn the volume off that? That one. There we go. So I'm now going to draw. I'm having a quick look at my screen, and I'm now going to draw the antlers in. So his antlers are actually the same length as his leg. So come down and around here, and I'm just going to start with the outer shape. I'm not going to worry too much about the details just yet. I'm going to focus on the outer shape. So I can adjust it and readjust it. Come down here. Then that one comes up to the same height. They might not be exactly the same, but it's a freehand drawing, so it doesn't matter if it's not exactly the same. And I'm just drawing what I see. Come down and up here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to start on this second one. So he's got the other antler comes around there. And this is fun with watercolours because you can play with the shadows and stuff. And you can see these antlers have got beautiful shapes to them, and they've got all different tones to them, which is really fun. So come down here, and you can see that one. I should make that one a bit longer, so I can adjust and readjust. Even though I can't see that one on the reference, I'm going to add it because I just think it needs it. So, because that's how I roll. And come down here, and I'm going to add where these antlers sort of sit. Okay, so I'm going to do the background as well. So you can see he's got a hedgerow sort of sitting here at about his waist height, about his hip height. So I'll take that hedgerow across like that. And the ground line is about just above his feet, above his ankles, or his fetlocks. Well, they call them fetlocks on horses. I think they're the same on deer. And that's all grass and stuff. And then in the distance, there's just hills that come up to about the back of his ears. So I'll draw those in, just distant sort of paddocky hills. And we are going to start, that's a very rough drawing, but that's fine because it's just a fun little sketch. And we're going to now start with the painting. But first of all, I'm going to do the sky. So I've got my palette here. I don't know whether you can see that just on the edge there. I'll pop that into the edge of the camera. Get all my brushes happening. Whoops, woo, because I drop everything. Ah, don't drop everything. I'm trying to drop everything. Okay, so I'm going to spritz my watercolours. And grab a bit of cloth because you always need a bit of cloth handy. Okie doke. And now I'm going to start with the sky. So grab my handy dandy silver black velvet watercolour brush that I have loved to bits, and all the paint has fallen off the handle. That's how well I use this brush and how long these last. I've had this brush for probably about 8 years, and yeah, all the paint's fallen off it. But that's fine. It still works at the brush end, so that makes me happy. So I'm going to start by just wetting the background, and I've got to cut around. So I'm taking my water. Oh, there's a hair on there. There's a hair in there. Take that off. There we go. And cut around the antler. And I can just see the sheen on this paper. Just see the sheen on this paper. So take that around. I'm going to wet the paper so that whatever paint I put on this water will flow. It will flow around and do its own thing. So, and it won't go where I haven't put the paint. So now I'm going to drop the paint in. Might grab a bit more paint, make it a bit darker. And I'm just going to let that flow around on the sky. Doesn't matter if it goes over the antlers a little bit because the antlers are going to be a darker tone anyway. So that'll be fine. That won't be a problem at all. So take that down and around. Whoops. Yeah, so I've gone over the antler there. Doesn't matter because that antler is going to be dark. So as long as I work from light to dark, it's absolutely fine. So now I'm going to clean my brush, pick up that excess moisture. So just take any moisture off your brush and you can pick up those little puddles. They'll just reabsorb back up the brush, which is nice and handy. I'm just going to come closer in to the edges of those antlers because I don't want little light spots around them like that. So I'll come in and do all that. There we go. Okay, now while that's still wet, I'm actually going to go in with another bit of ultramarine. Not ultramarine, sorry, cobalt blue into the sky. And I'll make little, I can't see any clouds in this photo reference, but I'm going to make some anyway. And I'll show you how I do that. I've got my bit of cloth in my hand. I'm going to get a bit more cobalt blue there. A little bit more cobalt blue. There we go. And while it's still wet, I'm going to touch it with my bit of cloth. And that will create very soft, diffused cloud effect. And that is how you do clouds in watercolour. One of the ways you can do clouds in watercolour. So now, while that's still wet, I'm going to leave that and I'm going to come down to the bottom of the painting. I'll do the deer last. So I'm going to work on the grass underneath him. So it's a greeny, fawny sort of a colour. So I'm going to go with sap green first. I can always add some yellow ochre afterwards. So that's not a problem. So I'll start with the green first, just sap green underneath him. And you can't see his little feet because they're in the grass. So I'll pop that in there. And literally I'll add the detail over the top of that at the end. I'll add some little grass flecks because that's super duper pale. It's not going to be hard to add grassy flecks. I might add a little bit more thicker paint just for interest's sake. And I'll soften that off a bit. Drag it around a fraction. There we go. I'll pop, whoops, get a bit more sap green there and come up sort of towards the hedgerow. Now the hedgerow is also the same, very close in colour, but it's got little branches through it. So what I'm going to do is go the same sap green, just more pigment, less water. More pigment, less, oh, that's not sap green, I went into the wrong green. Silly me. Okay, that's sap green. So go a bit more sap green. Get less water. I've got to get some more of that onto there. I've got too much water on my brush. There we go. That's a bit thicker. And I'm going to, while it doesn't matter that that's still damp down below, I'm just going to, you can see that's a slightly stronger tone. And I'm just going to cut around the back of the deer. And take it almost to the ground line. Almost. Very close to the ground line. I'm not, what do you call it? Backgrounds are not my forte. Animals are my forte. I draw and paint animals every single day. But I don't do a whole lot of backgrounds, so this is still, I do very impressionistic backgrounds. They're not exactly the same as the photo, but they'll give you the idea. It's a simple way of doing a background without getting too overwhelmed by the detail. As long as you get the shapes right and as long as you get the colours right, it'll create the effect. It creates the illusion, which is what you need and what you want. So the bottom's nearly dry actually. So you can see that's, I'm going to darken it up. I'm just adding the base tone. So that's your lightest colours, your base colours. And then you work from light to dark. So now I'm actually, while that's still damp, I'm going to go in, I'm going to make up a bit of an olivey green. So I've got olive green here, but I'm going to actually mix it a little bit with my sap just to lighten it off a fraction. So while it's all, and I'm not going to put it solid over the whole background. I'm going to leave some of the background showing through. So I want it to just create that hedgy sort of a look and create some sort of sticky patterns, and I'll cut around the deer though. So you can see that creates the illusion of a hedge. It's darker than the reference, but that's fine because the reference is quite muted. And I got this reference picture off Unsplash, which is a royalty-free photograph site. And they have some wonderful pictures in every genre. If you like drawing people, painting people, if you like landscapes, if you like animals, they've got everything. So I recommend Unsplash. I don't think it's in my description yet, but I will add it to my description after. So you can pop over and check it out because everyone's free to use it. And also Pixabay. I love Pixabay because they've got amazing references as well. So I'm just going to come down, create this hedge-like pattern, get some more olive on my brush, come down and around here. You can hear my little dog in the background, I apologise. I've got one Jack Russell asleep next to me and the other one's down the other end of the hall. Okay. So I'll just continue on, and you can see those little gaps. That just creates an illusion of a hedge, which is exactly what I want. And I'm not going to go to too much fuss because I want the deer to be the focus. The deer is the focus, not the background. I want the deer to be the main part. So I'm going to leave that now. And the background up here is almost like a yellow ochre colour. So I'm going to pop some yellow ochre, but a tiny touch of that green, just to green off that brown, a fraction. So it's yellow ochre, but it's got a touch of green. Just so that because that is grass into the distance. Everything gets sort of paler into the distance. And I'm going to water that right down and follow that. It doesn't matter that I've got it on the tops of the hills at the back. That actually creates a nice little distant hill. And I'm going to come across and around the top of this deer like that. And then as close to the hedge. The very top of the hedge is dry, so I can come up close to that now, and it shouldn't honeycomb up into my paint. Right, so that's that side of the very far background. And because I'll add grass in the foreground as well, that will really help to bring everything forward, and that'll make this background distant. I can see some little trees way off in the distance there, and some trees up on the hedgerow up there, and I'm gonna in the background, but what I'm going to do is, because they're very far in the distance, I'm going to make those purple. Whoops, I went into the wrong colour there. That's alright. I'm going to clean see what I did there. I went into the wrong colour, but I'm just going to add some water and blend it out, and it'll disappear. There we go. That's not a problem. Not a problem at all. Okay, so now I am going to add very distant hedgerows. So I'm going to make up a purple. So I'm going to go ultramarine blue. Ultramarine blue. Actually, I'll clean this top palette so you guys can see it. Ultramarine blue. Not ultramarine. Cobalt blue. I keep saying ultramarine for some reason. Cobalt blue. And I'm going to go cadmium red to make a purple. Cadmium red to make a very sort of pale purple, because everything in the distance looks purpley and bluey. So there we go. And I'm going to now put little and I might add a little bit of olive to that as well. Whoops, that's too much, way too much. So now I'll go back to me blue and back to me red, back to me a bit more red. There we go. There we go. And I'll just add this little tree line in the background, because I can just see some little trees way up there in the distance. I'm not going too much into it. I'm just going to draw a few around way out there, like that. There's a few more sort of under here. But I'm not going to, and you can see there, I'm just literally touching the end of my brush on the paper to create that. I'm not going to any fuss whatsoever. Just touching the end of my brush onto the paper and creating little blobs that will suggest that there's trees way back there. Like that. Okay. Now, I'm actually going to use that same colour, because I quite like that, on the grass up the front here. Just a little bit, because you can see there's blues and greens and greys and all kinds of colours in the grass there. So, all kinds of colours in there. And that grass also, let's see, that's still wet there, but that's fine. I can actually just drag that up and create grassy texture with what's there. Just use that damp paint to do that as well. Up towards that hedgerow. Right. I'm going to add a bit more pure yellow ochre into this background, just to create, because it sort of comes closer to this hedgerow, just a bit of a difference there. I can make like come right up to the deer like that, and that just creates different grasses, different ideas of grasses in the background. I'll come right up to the deer here, because paddocks aren't universally one colour. If you look at an aerial photo of farmland, there's always different greens, always, like people are growing crops, there's different colours, there's yellows, there's, you know, all kinds of colours. So I'm just going to add those in for myself for a bit of interest. I might just drag that one down a bit closer to his back, soften up that edge, clean my brush, take the excess moisture off it, and just touch the edges just to soften them so it's not a hard line. And the same with that edge there, just drag it down with a clean dry brush. There we go. Right, so that will do that. Now looking at this hedge, I'm actually going to add some yellow ochre into that as well. Add some yellow ochre into that as well, because we've got sort of stalks, just little whizzy busy stalks coming off here and there. Add some onto the grass, and that'll just about do our background, I reckon. I've got to do a shadow under the deer. He doesn't really have a shadow, but I want to ground him. So to ground him, I'll add a bit of that. I'll actually take that purple. I might make it a stronger purple. I might use a bit of indigo. It's a beautiful dark. And I'll add a bit of me red again. Actually, I'll go down to this one. Bit of indigo, bit of red, bit more red, just to, there we go, purple that up a little bit. And then it's a bit stronger, still diluted, but it's a bit stronger. And that'll also create some shadows under this hedge, because he needs some shadows. And if he was reflecting shadows, it would come to, depending on where his light's coming from. Excuse my little dog in the background, making all the noises. Okay, so that's basically the shadow I'll put there. Shadows really help, and actually you can see this, I can bring it up into this scrubby bit, into this hedge a little bit. In Australia we call that scrub or brush. I'll bring it up into the hedgerow. Okay, just to help create a little bit of interest there. Might bring it down a little bit down. A few grassy textures. Okay, I'm going to leave that alone now, and now we're going to get onto the deer. We're going to focus on the deer. So I'm going to get a smaller brush, and first of all, so this brush is a size 4. I was using a size 8, so now I'm going to my size 4. Now the sky is dry, so I'm going to wipe off my palette. Like that. I'll leave that blue because I will use that indigo in a little bit. So clean all of that off. I've always got my hand towel handy. It's always good to have your hand towel handy. Okay, and I am going to have a sip of my coffee because I forgot about my coffee. Oh no, it's stuck to the table. There we go. I love my coffee. Okay, that's good. Sorry, it's tea, not coffee. I've got tea today. Okay, I'm going to make up a grey for his antlers. First of all, I'm going to go in actually with pure yellow ochre because I'm looking at that going, no, it's yellow ochre. The shadows are grey. So I'm going to get more paint, less pigment, less water. So it's thicker. I'm going to take it, clean my brush, get just on the tip of my brush. I can rest, this is all dry, so I can rest my finger on the background. And I'm just going to use the tip of my brush to fill in these antlers with yellow ochre. I will add the shadow tones at the very end. The darkest colours always wait till the very, very end. So you always work light to dark. Okay. Come up here. I can see that I've missed one of his antlers, but I can paint that in, one of the fronds on his antler. But I can add that in myself in a little bit, just with paint. So I paint over that one, then come back down here and onto his head. There we go. So that's one antler blocked in. Get a bit more water on my brush, not too much, just enough to make the paint move. And same thing. Just fill it in, take it around, come up here. I'm going to add that other front in. There we go, because I forgot to draw that in. So I'll just add that in as a mirror of the other one. It's a little bit shorter maybe, but that's fine because they're not 100% symmetrical ever. I'm going to make it a fraction darker because I've got to go over that blue a bit stronger there in the background. Okay, so that is his antlers basically blocked in. Now his head is also the same, his fur is the same colour with bits of grey through it. So I'm just going to stick with my yellow ochre. I'm going to stick with my yellow ochre for the base of the body of the animal. So, oops, I'm going to clean my brush and just fill in pretty much the whole deer. And I'll go over the shadows with darker paint, stronger tones. I'll leave his eyes and I can drag that paint around now. Just dampen my brush and drag that paint that I've already put on the paper all around. And I'll go over the woolly bits and create fur texture and all that sort of stuff in a little bit. First of all, I'm just going to block him in with the yellow, or yellow ochre, which is a golden brown. Okay, like that. And then come down onto his legs. You can see he's got lots of different colours in his fur, so that's going to be fun. That's what I love about watercolours, is learning how to blend the colours and make everything look right and mix them up, and it's fun to mix. I love mixing my colours. And I'm going to leave his bottom area the lighter. I'm not going to put any paint on that because that's actually I've got a Daniel Smith colour that will almost perfectly match that. It's a taupey colour and it's really beautiful. And it's the one colour of Daniel Smith colour that I absolutely adore. I usually use schminkes. These are my schminke watercolours. It actually is reflecting green. He's reflecting green on the screen and I'm not quite sure why that is, but it is a light brown. It could be my lighting. Which I've got to work on obviously. So now I'm actually going to add a bit of transparent sienna, which is a red brown. So I'm going to get my transparent sienna, which is one of my favourite reddy brown colours ever. Favourite reddy brown colour ever. And I'm now going to I'm going to add that onto the darkest areas. Still not as dark as it needs to be, but it's going to be a base for that brown, that beautiful brown. And when I add the darker browns on top, this red will pop through as a highlight. I'll leave little snippets of the other colour. Come down here like that. There we go. And I'm going to take that, I can see that under his tummy. And now I'm looking for any of the different colours on him. Under his tummy, under his little armpit, down the backs of his legs, down the back of that leg as well. It's on the inside of that thigh, around his fluffy bit on his bot, down the back of that leg. I can hear my dog trying to open the doggy door. He's trying to open the gate. Uh-oh, she's here. Pippi's arrived. Bear let Pippi in. Hello, Pippi puppy. You going to come up and say hello? Oh, there's Bear. Come on, say hello, Bear. This is Bear. This is my little Bear, who's a Jack Russell pup. And his daughter is Pippi, who is on the floor making all these funny noises. Hey, Pippi. I don't think so, Pippi. Pippi? I don't think so. Just bear with me. I'm just going to pop Pippi back out because she does this the whole time. Okay, she won't come out, so we'll just leave her here. You, come here. Come and say hello. Pippi. Oh, my goodness. I'll just turn this off for a second. Sorry about this. She's barking. Goodness gracious me. I apologise. I've got to try and get her. Come on. Come with me. Come on, you two. Come on. Out you come. Out you come. Quick, quick. Come on. Quick, quick. Quick, quick. Come on. Out you come. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on. Come on, beep. Come on, beep. Come on, beep. Come on, baby. Okay. She's back down there. I'm coming back. Okay, I'll just put her down the front of the house. Okay, sorry about that, peeps. Goodness gracious me. It's all entertainment here. Okay, well, that's given that a chance to dry. I've turned my volume on, haven't I? Yes, good. That's given that a chance to dry. So now I'm going to go in with burnt umber. So I've got burnt umber on my palette all ready to go. And I'm going to quite thickly, I haven't added a lot of water to that, so I've just got pretty much pure burnt umber. Yes, that's why Pippi stays down that end of the house, because she's very vocal. She wants my whole undivided attention, which she has every other time of the day, but not during an art stream. Apparently she doesn't like it. Okay, so I'm just going to add some of this burnt umber down and around. I'll add a little bit. I might actually, I'll use the very tip of my brush. And that's bare. Okay, come down here. Okay, I'm going to actually get my brush and dilute, soften the edges a little bit. And you can see that the red-brown underneath is sort of shining through, so that helps to keep it looking soft. I'm going to make up a grey for the darker tones. I'm going to use this blue and add it to my burnt umber. Actually, I'll use ultramarine blue actually. It makes a better brown, a better grey. Cobalt. I keep saying ultramarine. Burnt umber, cobalt blue to make my brownie grey, to create the dark for the nose. It's a beautiful natural grey. You can see it just comes under his chin a little bit there. I'm going to pop it into his eye and just leave the tiniest little highlight for the highlight reflecting from the sun on his eye. I'm going to take it onto the bottom now that his antlers are dry. I'm going to use the very tip of my brush to create the shadow under his antlers, like that. And it can come up onto this one. It goes up onto the top of that one. That one's almost completely in shadow, like that. And you can see we're starting to get the effects. So come down here. That one's almost completely in dark coming down onto there. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. Now I'm going to I've got to find a brush. I know I do have, but I've just got to find it. Okay. I want to get around his eye. I need to make his eye. So I'm going to go back into my burnt umber and my cobalt blue and just draw the outline a bit better. His eye's rounder. I've got to make the back of his eye a little bit rounder, like that. You can see he's got this same grey coming behind his ear, behind his eye and up towards his ear and around the edge of his ear. And also I've got to bring this sort of greyish tone under his chin and onto his neck, like that. Okay, I'm having a quick look. I'm going to get a little bit of a little touch, the teeniest touch. I could almost do this with pen just to add the iris of his eye. I don't need to draw detail, I just need it to be darker than it is. So draw his little eye in like that. That's better. That's looking a bit better. And I can also take that onto his nostril like that. Okay. Let's have a look. Okay, so I can see he needs, I can take this reddy brown I've still got on my palette, take this up under his chin as well, start to give his face, this is where the fun part is, trying to give them the definition and the shape, because otherwise they look flat. You've got to add the shadows and add the tones and make everything look interesting. Okay, and just build it up. Like, I'll do bits as I go. I'm going to add this grey, so burnt umber, cobalt blue, just less water, more pigment, burnt umber, cobalt blue, and I'll take that onto around his bottom and down his leg. Same on this side, goes around his bottom and down onto his leg, like that. And then back up onto his tummy. Around underneath, onto his little armpit. He's got a beautiful ruffled coat. I love his fur. That's what I liked about this picture. And I've always drawn horses and I've always drawn deer. I love them. They're my favourite animals, horses and deer. Oh, and elephants. Can't forget elephants. They're also a favourite. I've got lots of favourites. What can I say? Okay. Come down and around here. Now I'm going to find my Daniel Smith colours. I've got them over here. I've actually got them handy on the palettes behind me. I've got everything within reaching distance. I'm going to go back onto the... I've forgotten his little ruffle on his... He's got a little... Like, on a horse it's called the withers. Is this shoulder blade up here. So I've just noticed I forgot to draw his little shoulder blade in. So I'll just draw that in with my brush. And you can see he's starting to come together. Starting to look right. Takes a little while. You hit the painting's always hit, and oh my god, this looks rubbish spot. But every painting I've ever done has hit a oh god, this is not going to work. But then it does. It surprises you. You just got to be patient and keep adding the layers and keep working away, plugging away at it. And it's what we call it, plugging away. Just keep working at it, and it will come together eventually. You just got to have a bit of faith in yourself and your confidence, and keep going until everything sort of connects up and starts to look right. So clean my brush. I'm going to blend that bottom bit out a bit. I've got a bit of too much of a jump in tones just here. I need to blend that, sort of make it a bit more together, a bit less harsh of a jump, like that. So I'm just taking my damp brush and blending that, and that just sort of mutes that down a fraction for me. Now I've got to work on his back. So I'm going to take a bit of burnt umber and add it to my yellow ochre and just brown it off a bit. I don't want it dark because you can see his back is lighter than his neck, but I don't want it to look just... I've got to dilute my brush, wet my brush a bit more. So come down and just start to add the furry texture onto his shoulder. So I've added some burnt umber to my yellow ochre. Okay. Come down and around, anywhere that I can see the furry rough bits where he's obviously molting his winter coat. And that's the thing about watercolour is too, you don't need exact. Doesn't, like with acrylics, I could go for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and do detail and detail and detail and have it almost look like a photograph. Watercolours, you can do that, but I don't. I have my watercolours a bit more arty, a bit more impressionistic, less sort of realism. Like, it's still realism, but it's a mixture. I like them to look right, but I want it still to look like watercolour. Okay, so he's starting to look okay. We're getting there. We're getting there. I've got to really darken up. His mane is still too red, so I'm going to go in with pure burnt umber, and I'm going to add to that a bit of cobalt blue to make it really dark, browny grey. And then on the top of that, so it's quite thick, I'm going to add some more fur texture to darken up, because his mane under here is really quite dark. and down here. They are a magnificent animal. Okay. And you can see the background, just it's secondary. It's not the critical part of the picture. The animal is the critical part. So I've done a basic sort of impression of the background. Now I'm going to come down the front of that leg. I'm going to make that a bit darker again. So it's every layer gets a tiny bit darker. Every layer I add gets a little tiny bit darker. I've got to take that up onto his chin now. That same grey brown that I've mixed. Take that up onto his chin, and that'll blend that all up into there. Like that. Got to mix up a little bit more. Burnt umber, cobalt blue, yep. Cobalt blue, burnt umber. Woo, got too much there. Bit more cobalt blue to make that beautiful dark grey. And that's how I mix my greys. Just the more, if you want it a more bluey grey, you add more blue. If you want it browny grey, you add more brown. And you just build it up and build it up until you're happy. And this one is very little amount of water, so it's really quite thick. And I'm going to start with the dark shadows. Now I'm going to go in the very finest tip of my brush. You can see I only did this painting with 2 brushes. Because I love these round brushes because you can get a tip or you can use the flat part at the side. So they're multi-purpose. They're really good. And these silver black velvet brushes are just dreamy to use. Especially for the kind of painting that I do. I don't do lots of washes. You know, you'd want a bigger, thicker brush for a wash. Excuse my dogs. So you can see now I'm going into the darkest darks. I'm adding the darker shadows. I've still got to add this fluff on his tail, which I will. Excuse my bear. They're protecting me from the birds outside, I'm pretty sure. I'll come down here and add that one. Okay, so you can see that now his antlers are really coming together. His antlers are really coming together. I'm quite happy with those. I've got to brown off around the back of his neck and down here. Get a bit more of this brown. I apologise for my dogs again. The little terrors are they, the little terrorleras. Okay. And then I'm going to bring that darkest dark, and you can still see the little highlights. Okay, just bear with me. I'm just going to let Bear out now. Hold that thought. I'll be 2 seconds. Okay, Bear's out. World is happy. He's now protecting me from the birds. They love to bark at the birds, these dogs. They don't do anything. They don't catch them or anything. They just bark at them and tell them to get off my farm. Okay, so I'm going burnt umber. And you can see that dark is really starting to come together now. That's where you build your lightest lights and your darkest darks. I'm really liking him. He's starting to look good. You see, he hit that ugly stage, and now it's starting to come together. You just got to be patient and work from light to dark, and just keep at it. There we go. Okay, so having another look. Oh, there's a comment. Hello, sorry for bothering you. I want to offer promotion of your channel, viewers. Okay. So now I am going to finish off this furry bit down here. Okay. And I'm going to go around the bottom of his tail, just down there and onto his leg, between his legs there, just to create that little bit of a line that he's got. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. Now, I'm going to go into my Daniel Smith's colours. I'm just going to find which palette it's on. I've got these lovely little sort of 12-pack palettes. Can't open it. It doesn't want to open. Hang on. You watch, it'll be the wrong one too. These are my little palettes that I've got. Little Daniel Smith palettes. It's got to open it. Oh, doesn't want to open. Hang on. Oh, there we go. Got it. Okay, that's not the one. I need the other one. It's this one. Okay. And it's this colour. This gorgeous colour just here. I can never remember what it's called, but it is absolutely beautiful. And it's a fawny colour. It's a really beautiful, soft sort of fawny colour. I'll clean off one of these palettes so you can see it. Hang on just a second. I'll clean off this bottom palette and I'll pop it on there because it is a magnificent, really useful animal colour. It's like a soft beige. Oh, hang on, I'll clean this one. You can't see that one. I'll clean this one off. There we go. It's a beautiful soft beige. It is just a magnificent colour. It's my favourite, most used Daniel Smith colour. And it's useful on almost every animal. So, I'm going to come down onto his bottom and add that in there and around. I'll leave little touches of the white paper, just little touches of the white paper, like that. Righto. Now I'm having a quick look. There's not a whole lot more to go, so I'm having a quick look. Hi David, how are you? Welcome and thank you. So I'm just going to add, I'm going to actually add, this is a bit of an opaque colour, so it possibly it'll still add a little bit of difference. I might pop a little bit of it around the top of his eye, because it is it's a watercolour. Watercolours are generally transparent, but it is quite a strong watercolour, that particular one. So I can use it to sort of blend things around a bit. I can see what I've done here. I've got to bring this browny grey, to his mouth here a bit more, like that. That's better. That looks better. Not such of a jump. And then I'm actually going to use the indigo. This indigo blue is an amazing shadow colour. So I'm going to take that now into the darkest darks, and you add it over the brown and it becomes a grey, a very dark grey, which is just beautiful. You don't have to use black ever. You can make your indigo, and brown will make a beautiful dark grey, almost black. But it's a natural one, so it's got just a bit of zing to it. Black looks flat, but it gives this. You add a bit of indigo, a bit of blue, even a bit of ultramarine. It just gives everything a zing, a bit of spice, a bit of life. And I'm also going to add that in very carefully into the background. Now Bear Bear wants to come back in. Okay. Come back and do some more sort of stalky bits up into this little shrub area. Not too much, just a few patches of it here and there. And I am going to call that done, I think. So I'm going to sign that down here. And I'm going to try and do this multi-streaming a few days a week, because I work in the afternoons. I've got to fit it in before work. But now that I can multi-stream, I'm really excited. And I hope to do a lot more of these live streams for you all. So if you like to watch these, please pop it in the chat. Let me know if you like to watch these live streams. I will also make shorter format videos and shorts out of them. But if you enjoy this and you want to see more, please let me know in the comments below, because I would be more than happy to create these sort of live streams. I can do them most days actually now, which is great. But if you would like to see these a few days a week, let me know. On Twitch, you can go into my messages, and on YouTube, you can pop it in the comments below. So because now we're allowed to live stream, multi-stream from YouTube and Twitch. So, which is very, very exciting. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, David. Thank you so much. And I will have a look at that, Bernstein Bears. David is a wonderful, wonderful artist. Oh, thank you, Stitch. Thank you. I've also got my Twitch chat. It doesn't pop up on my YouTube chat, but I've got my Twitch chat over there. So thank you so much. And I'm so glad you liked it. I will be multi-streaming here most days. So, yeah, everyone, have an awesome day, and I will see you next time. Okie doke. I'll catch you later, guys. Bye.